it's tasty, because I put in a little Old Bay seasoning, really spicy.
So that way it tastes like better to her and like.
Wait, where are we going to
Just make it for Thanksgiving.
Your best bet is teenhealth.org to get these answers.
Jeff Bezos could be $100.
So you need to understand the difference between anorexia and
Sammy, it's not that compared to Jeff Bezos.
what about Jeff Bezos?
We're talking about who says like Bill Gates could buy a country.
No, he's richer than he's 30. He'd be the 37th richest country.
Amazing.
No, but the answer.
What is it?
Oh boy. My computer.
How many Jeff Bezos?
Well, they do. This is really fast.
He's 98, 95, 98, 95,000. He's 100 billion, but then he's How many kids do you have? Two?
Okay, we on bulimia.
Kids are probably a little bit sad. Luke's actually Bill Gates' son.
You want to do two, and then I'll make it.
Luke, your book fell.
What?
Something fell.
Whoa.
Oh, so anorexia was So one of the things that these are both, believe it or not, anorexia and bulimia are both addictive disorders. Okay, but they're part of what we call the DSM-3, which is Diagnostics and Medical Dictionary. So, in order for it, they're considered addictive disorders or addictive diseases. And in order for something to be considered a disease, it has to be what we call progressive. It has to get worse over time. And if untreated, it will become fatal. So, that's how alcohol becomes a disease, alcoholism, because it's progressive, it increases over time, and it's fatal if untreated. So if untreated, now some people, the progression may be slow, and others it may go up and down. Now, if you are a bulimic, because it's an addictive disorder, it's something that you have to be aware of. If you go into recovery and get treatment, but even 10 years down the line, just like addicts, you may relapse or fall into this eating abyss again. So the main thing that we know about anorexia is considered self-starvation. Right? Anorexia is reducing your intake dramatically. And sometimes we'll see other type of behaviors like excessive exercise, reducing liquid intake. What else are you seeing on there?
It's for like signs, it says broken blood vessels in their eyes.
Well, that's mostly bulimics, so I'll tell you
Well,
what.
oh, are you talking about anorexia?
Yeah.
Oh.
Bulimics. Bulimics, there are two words that you need to know for bulimia. One is binging and the other is purging. Does anybody have an idea what binging and purging mean?
Oh,
Sam,
When you like eat a lot of food at like one time.
binging, that's binging.
and then the purging is like you make yourself throw up.
make yourself vomit, take laxatives so you're on the toilet getting rid of your waste, maybe drinking something to make you vomit, so you're getting rid of whatever it is that you put in your system. Now, bingers and purgers, bulimics, sometimes they start out as anorexics. They cross over a lot, these diseases. But binging and purging, sometimes we'll see somebody who has broken blood vessels in their eyes. What do you think the broken blood vessels are from, Cal? Not stress. Anybody want to guess? Has anybody ever vomited so hard that they pop blood vessels in their eyes?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, and that has happened that's what happens, because it's constantly making yourself vomit. Those little blood vessels may sometimes pop out.
My brother broke like 7 of them.
Really? When I gave birth, my daughter, I looked like the devil. I blew out blood vessels in 2 of my eyes, and my husband couldn't even look at me. He said I was freaky. It's like they were bright red. No, I didn't feel it. No, compared to labor, that was nothing. So that's what we see. We also may see sores around the mouth with bulimics, because the stomach acids actually cause burning around the mouth, or inside the mouth there may be sores. And in some advanced cases, we may see teeth decay, because the acid from the stomach wears out the enamel on your teeth, and you're more susceptible to decay. Now those are advanced stages. So if you're concerned about somebody, let's say you have a friend who's in the 8th grade and she goes out for the track and field team and she's like running all the time, and then on Saturdays and Sundays she's running even more, and you notice that at lunch she's not eating. And you ask her what you had for breakfast, and she says, oh, I just have water because I don't have time to eat breakfast. But I eat a really good dinner. Those sometimes are signs that somebody is restricting their intake, their food. Their perception of what they look like is very different than reality. When they look in the mirror, they don't see someone who's emaciated, who has bones sticking out. They see themselves as not thin enough. And it's really a control issue. So it's hard to wrap your head around that, because you can't imagine that. But other signs are if somebody leaves the table quickly from eating a meal, maybe a really big meal. You see your friend, like she eats 6 meatballs and all this spaghetti, and she has, and then all of a sudden she's in the bathroom for a little while, and you hear the toilet flush a couple times. They flush to hide the sound of vomiting. They flush again to get rid of the waste, and then they might flush again just to make sure that nobody's, or they're excusing themselves, they'll be out. They'll hide their food in their napkin, pretend they eat it. They do everything they can to prevent being discovered. So it's really, it's about image. It's also a control disorder. We know that girls are more likely to suffer from these eating disorders. Boys, if they do have one, it's usually bulimia and not anorexia. I always worry about the guys wrestling who are trying to cut weight. It really scares me that they try to reduce their caloric intake. They put on their suits and they go in the jump rope because they have to lose 2 pounds. I worry about that hurting their body, and I worry about maybe developing unsafe eating habits. That's something that coaches need to be aware of. That's why we do hydration check. You guys do hydration tests? In the high school, they do hydration tests to make sure that you are not, dangerously dehydrated. I remember my trainer at my kid's high school, they wanted her to do hydration check, and the coach didn't like what she was finding, and he wanted her to recheck, and she refused, and she said, I will no longer do hydration checks for your team, because I feel like you're putting the kids in danger. So you have to really be smart about that. Give me the question, maybe.
Where in the community can you get help for eating disorders?
Well, let's think about this community here.
Oh, like, oh.
Okay, I got one little clip I can show you. It's upsetting to watch this for me, and it may be a little shocking for you. But just know that there is a tremendous amount of help out there. We're getting better and better about identifying people who have suffered from this
There's
illness.
this like show on Netflix and it's called like To the Bone and it's about like this girl who
Yeah.
It's really good.
Is it
But it's
good?
like, yeah,
It's
and it like shows her like getting better though.
It does show you.
Yeah, and it's like at the end she's like better.
Is it a movie or
It's a show.
it's a show that's on, talks about the struggles? They have so many different things like weird addiction, and then they have
Yeah.
that rehab, what's the one where the people, intervention. I mean, they're always really hard. I have students that I have coached in the past that I know now have battled with eating disorders, and even as young as 7th and 8th grade, where I've had a couple kids where the nurses and I, we do communicate. And a lot of times kids will say, I don't feel good, I'm lightheaded, I'm dizzy, and then did you eat today? And then, you know, when we bring them, the mom's like, she's restricting her diet, so we try to intervene. The school nurse here is our school nurses are a great resource for you with anything along that line. We have guidance counselors. Believe it or not, we have referred kids out to inpatient treatment programs as well as outpatient treatment programs. We have Dr. Hunter. Some kids have a hard time relating, but she has a lot of resources for us. Through your physician, doctors. One of the first things doctors ask young girls when they suspect an eating disorder is, when was your last menstrual period? And the girls are like, last May. Well, when did you start? Well, when I was 12. So you start at 12 and you're 16 now and you haven't had a period in a year. Are you sexually active? No. So there's no chance of pregnancy? No. So that's a red flag, because what happens is as your body fat decreases, your hormones are not produced. Fat in our body helps us produce hormones. So as the hormones are reduced, then the menstrual cycle will stop. We see this oftentimes in distance runners, like those marathoners. Marathoners have a low body fat percentage, and it's not that they're not eating, they're eating, but they're just burning up so much, and sometimes they're very lean, so they get something and it's called amenorrhea. It's the end of a menstrual cycle, but once they stop training, they start eating again, the menstrual cycle usually oftentimes will come back.
My turn now, please.
Yeah. Alright, so let me just put this in. I may have this gum and break some.
Wait, it'll probably go with you.